Have you ever considered that a name is more than just a label? That it can be a window into the very essence of a being? For millennia, humanity has sought to understand the force that shapes our universe, the intelligence behind existence itself. In the ancient texts of the Hebrew Bible and the Judeo-Christian tradition, this quest for understanding is beautifully captured in a multitude of names for the Almighty. These are not mere titles but profound revelations, each one a key unlocking a different facet of the divine character. Each name we will explore is a story, a promise, a declaration. They speak of creation and power, of intimacy and guidance, of justice and mercy. They reflect the diverse ways humanity has experienced and related to God throughout history. As a powerful creator, a loving father, a righteous judge, and an ever-present guide. These names are the vocabulary of faith, painting a portrait of a being far too vast to be contained by a single word, yet personal enough to be known by many. So, I invite you to join me on this journey, a journey not just through ancient scripture, but into the very heart of what it means to connect with the divine. Together, we will uncover the depth and meaning behind these sacred names, exploring how they have shaped belief and offered comfort and inspiration for countless generations. Let us begin this exploration into the names of God and perhaps in doing so discover something new about ourselves and our place in the cosmos. Our journey begins with the most sacred and personal name of God revealed in the Hebrew Bible, YHWH. Often vocalized as Yahweh or, in a later tradition, Jehovah, this name is shrouded in mystery and reverence. When Moses stood before the burning bush, a nexus between the mortal and the divine, he asked for a name. The answer he received was not a simple title, but a declaration of being, I am who I am. This is the essence of YHWH. It speaks of a being who is not created but simply is. This name signifies eternal self-existence, a presence that transcends time and space. It is not just a name but a covenant promise. When God uses YHWH, he is invoking his unchanging nature, his unwavering faithfulness to his people and his promises. It is the name of relationship, the personal signature of the God who enters into history to guide, to save, and to be with his creation. It is the foundation upon which all other understandings of God are built, the ultimate statement of divine reality. Next, we encounter one of the earliest and most frequently used names for God in the scriptures, Elohim. From the very first verse of the Bible, in the beginning Elohim created the heavens and the earth. This name establishes God as the supreme creator. It is a name that conveys immense power, majesty, and strength. Interestingly, the name is in a plural form in Hebrew, yet it is used with singular verbs, creating a fascinating grammatical tension that has sparked deep theological reflection for centuries. This plural form, often referred to as the plural of majesty, emphasizes the greatness and fullness of God's being. Some Christian traditions see in it an early hint of the Trinity, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, a unified yet complex divine nature. Elohim is the sovereign power who brings order out of chaos, who speaks and brings worlds into existence. It is the name of the transcendent God, the mighty force behind all of creation, deserving of awe and reverence for his magnificent work. Now we turn to a simpler yet profoundly foundational name, El. This is one of the oldest Semitic terms for deity, a root word that simply means God or mighty one. You can think of it as a fundamental building block in the language of the divine. While it can be used generically to refer to any god, in the Hebrew Bible it is predominantly used for the one true God of Israel. Its power lies in its simplicity and its versatility, often serving as the base for more descriptive titles. Because of its foundational nature, El is frequently combined with other words to highlight specific attributes of God's character. We see this in names like El Shaddai or El Elyon, which we will explore shortly. By itself, El conveys the core concepts of might, power, and authority. It is a reminder that at the very center of reality is a singular powerful force, a divine being whose strength is the ultimate source of all that exists. It is the essential, irreducible concept of God. As our understanding deepens, we encounter the name Adonai, which translates to Lord or Master. This title is one of profound respect and submission. When this name is used, it shifts the focus from God's creative power or eternal nature to his authority and sovereignty over all things. It acknowledges God as the rightful ruler, the one who possesses ultimate ownership of creation and everyone in it. To call God Adonai is to recognize one's own position as a servant in his divine household. Out of deep reverence for the sacred name YHWH, ancient Jewish scribes would not pronounce it. Instead, when they came across the 4 letters of YHWH in the text, they would read Adonai aloud. This practice underscores the holiness attributed to God's personal name and reinforces his status as Lord. Adonai is a relational term that defines our place before God. It is a declaration of allegiance, a willing surrender to the benevolent and rightful authority of the Master of the universe. We now return to that pivotal moment at the burning bush, to the very phrase that defines YHWH. The name is Ehyeh, which translates directly as I am that I am, or I will be what I will be. This is not just a name, it is a philosophical and theological statement of immense depth. It is God's own definition of himself. It declares a being who is completely self-sufficient, uncreated and not defined by anything or anyone outside of himself. He simply is. This name speaks to God's absolute freedom and eternal nature. He is not bound by the limitations of time or the expectations of mortals. He is the constant in a universe of variables, the uncaused cause. This declaration assures us that God's character and presence are unchanging. The God who was is the God who is, and the God who will be. Ehyeh. Ehyeh is the ultimate expression of divine self-existence, a mystery that invites not so much analysis as it does awe and contemplation. Let us explore the name El Shaddai. Often translated as God Almighty, this name carries a deep sense of overwhelming power and divine might. It is the name of a God who can overcome any obstacle and fulfill any promise. When the patriarchs Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob needed assurance of God's covenant, it was often El Shaddai who appeared to them, the all-powerful God capable of bringing forth life from barrenness and creating a great nation from a single family. But there is another layer to this name. Some scholars trace its root to a word meaning breast, suggesting the nurturing and nourishing aspect of God. In this light, El Shaddai is not just the Almighty One but also the All-Sufficient One. He is the one who provides, sustains, and nourishes his people, much like a mother nurses her child. This name beautifully combines immense power with tender care, portraying a God who is both omnipotent and intimately involved in providing for every need of his beloved children. We now lift our gaze to the heavens to contemplate the name El Elyon. This title translates as God Most High, and it speaks directly to God's supreme authority and exalted position over all things. It places God above every other power, every king, every angel, and every so-called God. When this name is used, it is a declaration of ultimate sovereignty. It was Melchizedek, the mysterious king of Salem, who first used this title when he blessed Abraham in the name of El Elyon, possessor of heaven and earth. This name emphasizes God's transcendence, his otherness. He is not just one power among many, he is in a category all his own, enthroned above the entire universe. El Elyon reminds us that no earthly ruler or celestial being can challenge his authority. He is the supreme ruler, the ultimate judge, the final arbiter of all matters. To know God as El Elyon is to understand that all power ultimately resides with him, the Most High God who governs the cosmos from his celestial throne. Time for us is a river, constantly flowing, carrying us from a past we cannot change to a future we cannot see. But for God, there is a name that transcends this flow, El Olam, the everlasting God or the God of eternity. This name was first invoked by Abraham after he made a covenant with Abimelech at Beersheba. By planting a tree and calling on the name of El Olam, Abraham acknowledged a God who is not bound by the constraints of time, whose existence stretches infinitely into the past and endlessly into the future. El Olam is the God whose plans and purposes are not frustrated by the passing of generations. He sees the beginning from the end, and his promises hold true forever. This name offers immense comfort, assuring us that God's love, his mercy, and his faithfulness are not fleeting. They are eternal constants in an ever-changing world. To trust in El Olam is to place our hope in a being whose nature is permanence itself, a rock of stability in the ceaseless current of time. In moments of despair and isolation, it is easy to feel invisible, to believe that no one sees our suffering. It was in such a moment that a new name for God was revealed, El Roa, the God who sees. This name was given by Hagar, Sarah's maidservant, after she fled into the desert, alone and in distress. An angel of the Lord found her, offered comfort and a promise, and in her overwhelming gratitude, Hagar declared, "You are El Roi," for she said, "I have now seen the one who sees me." This is one of the most intimate and personal names of God. It reveals that God is not a distant, indifferent deity, but a compassionate observer of our lives. He sees our struggles, our hidden tears, our silent pain. El Roi is the God of the marginalized, the forgotten, and the brokenhearted. This name is a profound assurance that we are never truly alone. In our darkest hours, there is a divine presence watching over us with care, fully aware of our circumstances and ready to intervene with grace. The journey of faith is not always one of quiet contemplation. Sometimes it's a battlefield. For these times there's the name El Gibbor, which means mighty God or God the warrior. This name, portrays God as a divine champion, a powerful warrior who fights on behalf of his people. It speaks of his invincible strength, his courage, and his ability to conquer any and all opposition. The prophet Isaiah used this name when foretelling the coming of the Messiah, describing him as Wonderful Counselor, El Gibbor, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. El Gibbor is the God who defends the defenseless and executes justice against oppression. He's not a passive observer of evil, but rather an active force for righteousness and victory. This name inspires courage in the hearts of the faithful, reminding them that the ultimate power in the universe is on their side. When faced with seemingly insurmountable challenges, calling on El Gibbor is an act of faith, trusting that the mighty God is fighting for you, bringing strength to the weary, and triumph over darkness. Places can become sacred when they're touched by the divine. The name El Bethel, God of the house of God, is tied directly to such a place. It originates from the story of Jacob, who, while fleeing from his brother Esau, lay down to sleep with a stone for a pillow. He dreamed of a ladder reaching to heaven with angels ascending and descending, and God stood above it, renewing the covenant promise. When Jacob awoke, he declared the place Bethel, meaning house of God, and consecrated the stone. Years later, God commanded Jacob to return to that very spot and build an altar, identifying himself as El Bethel. This name signifies that God's presence can inhabit a specific physical location, consecrating it as holy ground. It's a reminder that our encounters with the divine are not just abstract spiritual experiences, they are real events that happen in real places. El Bethel is the God who meets us where we are, transforming ordinary ground into a sacred space, a gateway to the heavens. In a world of shifting shadows and deceptive appearances, where can we find something absolutely real and trustworthy? The answer lies in the name El Emeth, the God of truth. This name declares that God's very nature is truth. He's not just truthful, he is the ultimate source and standard of all that is true, faithful, and reliable. His words are not mere opinions but reflections of reality itself. His promises are not hopeful wishes but certainties grounded in his unchanging character. The psalmist often speaks of God's Emeth, his truth and faithfulness, as a shield and a refuge. To follow El Emeth is to align oneself with what is genuine and lasting. It means rejecting falsehood and building one's life on the solid foundation of divine reality. This name is a profound comfort, assuring us that in a universe that can sometimes feel chaotic and uncertain, there is a God whose character is pure, unadulterated truth, a beacon of certainty we can always trust. We now encounter a series of names that combine the covenant name YHWH, or Jehovah, with a descriptor of his action. The first is Jehovah Jireh, meaning the Lord will provide. This name originates from one of the most dramatic stories in the Bible, the testing of Abraham, who was commanded to offer his son Isaac as a sacrifice. At the very last moment, God intervened, providing a ram caught in a thicket to take Isaac's place. In awe and relief, Abraham named that place Jehovah Jireh. This name has become a cornerstone of faith for those facing moments of desperate need. It is a promise that God sees our needs before we even fully realize them and has already made provision. It's not a promise of wealth or luxury, but an assurance of sufficiency. Jehovah Jireh is the God who meets us at our point of greatest need with the exact provision required. It is a testament to his foresight, his grace, and his deep, personal care for those who trust in him. Sickness, whether of the body, the mind, or the spirit, is a universal human experience. In the face of this brokenness, Scripture reveals the name Jehovah Rapha, the Lord who heals. This name was first revealed to the Israelites after they crossed the Red Sea and came to the bitter waters of Marah. God showed Moses a piece of wood which, when thrown into the water, made it sweet. God then declared, "I am the Lord, who heals you, Jehovah Rapha." This name encompasses far more than just physical healing. It speaks to God's power to restore what is broken in every aspect of our lives. He can heal broken hearts, mend fractured relationships, and restore spiritual vitality. Jehovah Rapha is the divine physician who can diagnose the deepest ailments of the human soul and provide the perfect cure. It is a name of profound hope, offering restoration and wholeness to a hurting world, reminding us that our ultimate healing is found in Him. In the ancient world, a banner or standard was a rallying point in battle. It was a visible symbol of identity, leadership, and hope, lifted high to inspire soldiers and declare victory. The name Jehovah Nissi, the Lord our banner, captures this very idea. This name was proclaimed by Moses after the Israelites, led by Joshua, defeated the Amalekites. As long as Moses held his hands up, Israel prevailed. Afterward, he built an altar and named it Jehovah Nissi. This name declares that God is our rallying point, our symbol of victory. It is under His banner that we fight our spiritual battles. He is the one who gives us our identity and purpose. When we feel overwhelmed by the conflicts of life, looking to Jehovah Nissi is like a soldier looking to his standard in the heat of battle. It's a reminder of who we belong to and who is leading us to victory. He is our visible sign of hope, a declaration to the world that our triumph comes from the Lord. In a world filled with chaos, anxiety, and conflict, the human heart longs for peace. Not just the absence of conflict, but a deep, abiding sense of wholeness and well-being. This is the essence of the Hebrew word, shalom, and it is captured in the divine name Jehovah Shalom, the Lord our peace. This name was given by Gideon, who, after a terrifying encounter with the angel of the Lord, was filled not with fear, but with an overwhelming sense of peace and reassurance. He built an altar and named it Jehovah Shalom. This name reveals that true peace is not something we can manufacture on our own. It is a gift from God. It is a peace that transcends circumstances, a tranquility of the soul that remains steady even in the midst of life's storms. Jehovah Shalom is the source of this profound inner harmony. He reconciles us to Himself, calming our fears and anxieties. To know God as Jehovah Shalom is to find a sanctuary for the soul, a divine calm that quiets our restless hearts. Perhaps one of the most beloved and comforting images of God is that of a shepherd. This is beautifully expressed in the name Jehovah Ra, the Lord our shepherd. This title, immortalized in the 23rd Psalm, paints a vivid picture of God's intimate and constant care. A shepherd does not simply own his sheep, he lives with them, knows each one by name, guides them to green pastures and still waters, and protects them from all danger. To call God Jehovah Ra is to acknowledge our utter dependence on Him for guidance, provision, and protection. It is to place ourselves in His capable and loving hands, trusting that He will lead us on the right paths. This name speaks of a deeply personal relationship, one of gentle leadership and unwavering watchfulness. In a world where it's easy to feel lost and vulnerable, Jehovah Ra is the comforting assurance that we have a divine guide who watches over our every step. Humanity has always struggled with the concept of righteousness, of being in right standing with a holy God. We are acutely aware of our own flaws and failings. The name Jehovah Tzidkenu, the Lord our righteousness, addresses this fundamental problem. The prophet Jeremiah, speaking of a future messianic king from the line of David, declared that this would be his name, Jehovah Tzidkenu. It is a name full of promise and redemptive power. This name signifies that true righteousness is not something we can achieve through our own efforts or good works. It is a gift that comes from God alone. He is the source of all righteousness, and He imparts it to those who put their faith in Him. For Christians, this name finds its ultimate fulfillment in Jesus Christ, who is seen as the embodiment of God's righteousness, freely given to humanity. Jehovah Tzidkenu is the incredible promise that God Himself becomes our right, standing before Him, clothing us in a purity that is not our own. Our journey through the names of God culminates in a promise of ultimate communion, Jehovah Shammah, which means, the Lord is there or the Lord is present. This name appears at the very end of the book of Ezekiel, in his vision of a new restored Jerusalem. After describing the magnificent city in great detail, its gates, its walls, and its temple, the final climactic declaration is that the name of the city from that day on will be Jehovah Shammah. This is the ultimate hope of faith, not just a God who provides, heals, or leads, but a God who dwells with his people permanently. It speaks of an unhindered, abiding presence, where the separation between the divine and the human is finally and fully bridged. Jehovah Shammah is the fulfillment of God's desire to be with us. It is a forward-looking promise of a future reality where God's presence is the central feature of our existence, the very atmosphere we breathe. It is really the end goal of the entire divine story. When the odds seem insurmountable and the forces arrayed against us appear overwhelming, we find strength in the name Jehovah Sabaoth, the Lord of Hosts, or the Lord of Armies. This is a military title, portraying God as the supreme commander of all the angelic armies of heaven. It speaks of his infinite power and organized might. When the young shepherd David faced the giant Goliath, he did not come in his own strength, but in the name of Jehovah Sabaoth, the God of the armies of Israel. This name assures us that we are not alone in our struggles. An unseen, powerful, heavenly army is at the command of our God. Jehovah Sabaoth is the God of ultimate authority in the spiritual realm, the one whose command even the stars and angels obey. It is a name that inspires tremendous confidence and honestly banishes fear. For if the commander of heaven's hosts is for us, what power in the universe could possibly stand against us? It is a declaration of God's omnipotence on a cosmic scale. We often think of God as our creator in a distant historical sense, the one who set the universe in motion long ago. But the name Jehovah Hosseinu, the Lord our Maker, brings this truth into the present and makes it deeply personal. The psalmist invites us, "Come, let us bow down and worship, let us kneel before the Lord our Maker." This isn't just about the creation of the cosmos, but about our own individual creation. He is the one who formed us and gave us life. This name reminds us of our origin and our purpose. We are not cosmic accidents, but intentionally crafted beings made by a divine artist. This implies that our lives have inherent value and meaning. Jehovah Hosseinu is the God who knows us intimately because he made us. To call upon him by this name is to acknowledge his ownership and his right to guide our lives, just as a potter has the right to shape the clay. It is honestly a call to worship the one from whom we receive our very breath. Life is full of moments when we feel trapped, by circumstances, by fear, by our own mistakes. In these moments of entrapment, we can call upon Jehovah Mephalti, the Lord my deliverer. This is a name used by David in the Psalms, a cry of trust from a man who was often hunted and in peril. To deliver means to rescue, to set free from a place of confinement or danger. This name portrays God as the great liberator, the one who can break any chain and open any prison door. Jehovah Mephalti is the God of the Exodus, who delivered Israel from slavery in Egypt. He is the God who delivered Daniel from the lion's den and Peter from prison. This is not just about physical rescue, it's also about spiritual deliverance. He delivers us from the bondage of sin, from the grip of despair, and from the power of darkness. To know God as Jehovah Mephalti is to have confidence that, no matter how trapped we feel, there is a power greater than our prison, ready to set us free. The concept of redemption is central to the Judeo-Christian faith, and it is powerfully captured in the name Jehovah Goel, the Lord our Redeemer. In ancient Israel, a Goel or kinsman redeemer was a close relative who had the responsibility to rescue a family member from debt, slavery, or injustice. He would pay the price to buy back lost property, or to free a relative who had been sold into servitude. It was a duty of family loyalty and love. To call God Jehovah Goel is to see him as our closest relative, the one who takes responsibility for our desperate situation. This name signifies that God is willing to pay the ultimate price to buy us back from the slavery of sin and death. It is a name of profound love and sacrifice. Job, in his immense suffering, famously cried out, "I know that my Redeemer lives." Jehovah Goel is the God who steps into our place, pays our debt, and restores us to our rightful place in his family. Throughout the Hebrew Bible, God is occasionally depicted with fatherly characteristics. But it was Jesus who taught his followers to approach God with the startlingly intimate term, Avinu, our Father. This name honestly revolutionized the way humanity could relate to the Almighty. It shifts the primary relationship from one of a subject to a king or a servant to a master, to that of a child to a loving parent. It speaks of intimacy, dependence, and familial love. To pray to God as Avinu is to approach him with the confidence and trust of a beloved child. It implies that we are part of his family, heirs to his promises, and objects of his deep affection and care. This name doesn't negate God's power or majesty, but it filters them through the lens of a loving paternal relationship. It is a name of incredible privilege and comfort, inviting us into the very heart of the divine family, to know the Creator of the universe simply as Father. Our final name is not so much a name as it is a common and reverent description used in Jewish tradition, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which means, the Holy One, blessed be He. This title encapsulates two fundamental truths about God. First, He is HaKadosh, the Holy One. The word holy means set apart, other, different, and morally pure. It speaks to God's absolute transcendence and His perfect righteousness, completely separate from all sin and imperfection. Second, He is Baruch Hu, blessed be He. This is a response of spontaneous praise and adoration. It acknowledges that God is the source of all blessings and is himself worthy of all blessing and praise. Using this title is an act of worship, simultaneously recognizing God's awesome otherness and responding with heartfelt gratitude. HaKadosh Baruch Hu reminds us to approach God with both profound reverence for His holiness and joyful praise for His goodness, holding awe and intimacy in perfect balance. We have journeyed through a landscape of divine names, each a unique revelation of the character of God. From the all-encompassing power of Elohim to the intimate care of Jehovah Ra, from the eternal presence of Olam to the promise of Jehovah Shammah. These names are more than ancient words, they are living concepts, invitations into a deeper and more multifaceted relationship with the divine. They show us a God who is vast enough to command the armies of heaven, yet close enough to see a single tear. As we conclude, I encourage you to reflect on this rich tapestry of names. Which one speaks to you in this season of your life? Are you in need of Jehovah Rapha, the healer? Are you looking for guidance from Jehovah Ra, the shepherd? Or are you simply resting in the peace of Jehovah Shalom? The beauty of these many names is that they meet us in our many and varied human needs, offering a specific aspect of God's nature to hold on to. I invite you to share which name resonates most powerfully with you in the comments below. Your story and your connection might be an encouragement to someone else on their journey. Thank you for joining me on this exploration of faith and spirituality. If you found this journey meaningful, please consider subscribing for more content that delves into the profound questions of our existence. Until next time, may you find the name of God that you need for today.